We asked you a lot about Jake Brendel. We talked about the interior a minute ago, but we asked you a lot about Jake Brendel, specifically early in the season. So nervous. How's he going to do? How's he doing? It seems like he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, he is. Jake is really like we talked. I mentioned earlier about the ownership that the guys are taking. That really starts with the center position. He's the guy that runs the group. He's the guy that runs the room. And obviously, you got to deal with you're dealing with Trent and Mike, who are some veteran players. But Jake is really taking ownership. Jake is really he's good for me because he absolutely wants to do exactly what I want him to do. He and I are close. So that helps me. He's like a coach on the field. I've told him that. But he's began to take ownership. He's begun to have ideas and thoughts of his own. He's began to say, hey, maybe we should do this, or maybe we should do that, or this is what's happening, or that's what's happening. I'm trying to do this, and this isn't working. And I've watched him develop through that. There's still areas that he needs to improve on, things he hasn't done a lot of. But, man, it's been fun to watch him. He, Banks, Burford, they've all, each week, like I said, they learn, and then they grow a little bit from it, and they get a little bit better in some areas. Sometimes they revert back. Right now, like, for example, Aaron, if we don't have a full week of practice where we get the full, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday routine, his games, when we had the short week, you come off a Monday night game, his games weren't as good, not as clean, maybe not noticeable, they just weren't as clean, The same thing can be said for Jake, not that he takes a step back, but it just takes time now they're going to start to get into a groove. We're towards the end of the season. Now you hope that this now carries on, but it's still a learning curve. Things are still adding up, and then nothing is like set in stone yet with these guys, although they are getting better every week. Jake included, he's been really cool to watch him develop, and it's not easy because from his perspective, like he could have some mental errors early in the season that you'd like, gosh dang, man, this is not good, But then to fight through those bumps in the road and to come out the other end of it, learning from it and getting better, he's doing that.
Changes that you have to do on the fly on an offensive line and how you got to be ready for them. But now, recently, you've had a good run of having people in their spots. And can you see that in their play?
Yeah, it is, knock on wood with that one. We definitely, the guys have worked really, really hard. I don't know what it is. It's kind of the luck of the draw. Some teams, they can't keep the same five guys in the field. I've been through years like that, and in other years you go through some bumps in the road. It's I don't want to say it's luck, but it's been nice. And I do think that as guys play together more and more and more, I noticed on the sidelines, I think there's a lot more understanding of the whole group, of understanding exactly what we're trying to accomplish in a game. And there's a lot more talk between themselves, adjustments that need to be made, and more of sometimes asking when they get to the side, hey, we were thinking about this or thinking about that. Where early in the season it wasn't as quite much that way because we did have some younger starters. So I think there is beginning to be a little bit more ownership from the guys that haven't played a lot of football before. And then the group plays together. I mean, you just – early on, we talked about you really don't know about a group of guys till they play. And then as they're playing during the course of the season, the group gels and becomes what they're going to become. And so we are today, and it's a good group right now. They're working well together.
So much earlier in the season, a lot of articles written about three kind of unknowns in the interior. And you obviously didn't know for sure. Have they surprised you at all, just how apparently good they've been?
Well, I don't think we would have, it wasn't like we rolled it out there and said, well, we hope. I mean, we hoped, yes, but we also, like we talked about, they all had a skill set that said they could do it. So is it a surprise? Well, no, they've actually, the guys are playing to their skill set, and it's still with room to grow. So with that being said, not a surprise, just glad that we were right at this point, that the guys that we thought could play and be productive in this offense have been able to do it up to this point. And still a lot of football left to play. So guys have to continue to grow, continue to sharpen their skills and hopefully be ready for the rest of this season and beyond.
What challenge do those guys have this week with those two defensive tackles?
I mean, for every single group we play has something that presents a challenge. And these guys, obviously, their two interior players are outstanding. Their edge rushers are very good. This is a really, really good defensive football team. And, I'm not the stats. I mean, a lot of reasons for statistics, but when you get this far into a season, a team is ranked high statistically. They're there for a reason. They've done a good job. They've obviously statistically done a good job. They play good complementary football, offense, defense, special teams, and how they do it. And this group defensively is, you can see they're very sound in what they do schematically. They're very well coached. Their techniques are very, very good. They've got skilled players on that front four, five, whatever you want to. They are outstanding players, talented, and and they reflect, I think, the toughness and mentality of their head coach. I mean, he's a tough-minded guy, and they reflect that in how they play. I mean, when they come to tackle you, you know you're getting tackled. When you hit one of them, you know you hit one of them. I mean, it's a stout group. They bring it every single week, and they present a great challenge for us up front on the offensive line.
When you look around the locker room, there are a lot of stars on this team, but it feels like not a lot of ego. Is that something that has been talked about, or is it naturally just what's happened with the people you guys have brought in?
That's a nice observation. I mean, I get that feeling, but sometimes they just kind of tell coach what coach wants to hear, so it's good to hear it from you. I think from the beginning point of the players that we put on this football team, I think John and Kyle do an outstanding job of getting the right kind of guys there that just like playing football. And it's not about who gets the credit. They're just football players that like being part of a team. Obviously, it's professional football, and players want to be paid for what they do. And if they do a good job, they want to be paid a lot. I understand that. We all understand that. And so do they. But they understand that sometimes being on a good team, being part of something special is something that's important, too. And we have a bunch of guys that means a lot, too, that way. Not a bunch of guys that are just here for a paycheck and trying to figure out where their next spot is. They're legitimately vested in trying to see the 49ers win. The organization treats people well, and if you bring the right kind of people in, which we have, I think that's reciprocated. And so it's a really cool group of guys to work with. My guys are amazing, and it does run throughout the locker room.
When Trent Williams went down with the high ankle sprain in week 3, and he only missed 3 games, how is that like a step back to like his all-pro form gone? Like it looks like he's back. And
Yeah, there was I can't remember how it worked, but we were talking about it 2 or 3 games kind of after the bye that he had the ankle, and then when he came back, it was like the timing of the bye week and everything else just seemed like he hadn't played a lot of football. Even when he was kind of healthy, he wasn't back in a rhythm yet. So at this point, he is feeling really good about himself. I mean, I know you guys, you hear me say it, and we all appreciate how talented Trent is and what a great career he's had up to this point. But I mean, he'll come to me every single Thursday that's when he does his full day of work with full pads usually. And it's like, what do I need to work on today? What do you see in my game that needs to get better? He's constantly looking to work and be a better football player. So to say he's been at any form, he just keeps working to improve. He's done a lot of things to change his game a little bit this offseason and how he looked a year ago. He didn't like some of the things he was doing. We talked about it in the offseason. A lot of them are his suggestions. Some of them are mine. And he's worked through it and really is playing well at this point. Again, it's another challenge this week, though. There's always a week to not look as good. And obviously last week was a great challenge. The noise and all the things we had to manage with that was really, really cool for him to be able to go up and have a nice game again.